This is a show about facing fear, unlocking courage, and taking action.
Courage isn't necessarily a daunting thing.
It's going to give you more purpose. It's going to give you more drive.
It feels like making a courageous decision is going to get you closer to who you aspire to be.
It's knowledge plus faith plus action equals courage.
Every 2 hours, I just want you to document, what did you do the last 2 hours? Not a novel, just like I answered the phone call from my mom, I ran an errand, whatever it might be. It is so gut-wrenching. I think I'm wasting a lot of time. I'm like, and don't worry, we all are in some capacity, because it's about how are we being intentional with our time.
Today is a love fest on the Courageous Podcast, and I don't know how else to say it, because there's just people in your life that you trickle into, and there's pockets of time that go between it, but then because we're all busy, but then you run back into that person, and of course you shouldn't be surprised that they're still working. They're still mastering their craft. They're still hustling, which is a funny word. And we're going to have that chat today about the word hustling. And I know my guest, Matthew Gottesman, knows what I'm talking about, because I think, Matthew, when we met, and I got to tell you, I told you I'd share the story here, but when we truly met, I think you were in the hustle world. Your podcast was all about hustle. Am I getting this wrong?
No, you're not. But so when I first set out with The Hustle Sold Separately was the podcast. And the idea was, obviously the dream is free, the hustle sold separately. You have to do work in this life for everything, not just your dreams, but your life, your health, your body, all these things. And for me, hustle culture took over from the other hustle outlets. We'll leave names out because my brand. I don't like bringing other names in, but a lot of hustle culture folks were coming in. My idea around the hustle sold separately was listen, you're gonna have to do the work, whatever your thing is or set of things. And that was where I wanted to come in. But then the word hustle in general also just lost its resonance in general. But the work is still always going to be there in anything that you want in life. But how you approach it for sure is different,
Well, look, this is not to knock where you came from or where I came from, and I'll kind of give you the story now, I guess. So, I can't even explain. I'm not going to even pretend to explain truly how algorithms work. Okay, I'm not.
Right.
That is not me. I know if I put in the work, I definitely have written, you remember that movie, How to Train Your Dragon? I have How to Train Your Algorithm, right? So you run into the right people, and you qualify in the right people, which is probably why we work.
Yeah.
But at a long time ago, I was just in my heart, I knew I was moving into something new. I knew I was moving into courageous, but I had, between my head and my heart was that space where I had buried it. And it was the conversation that had to happen. And I didn't know, ironically, as a guy that has a company called Courageous, if I had the courage to do what needed to be done and make it real. And I remember that the algorithm of Facebook had decided to serve up a video of you. And it felt like you're that ripping open, getting to this real you, okay. And I can't even remember what you said. Here's what I heard, and it just so landed. It's I honor who I was before, and that's a whole shit. I'm gonna need more time than this 8-minute, 11-minute video. But for me to be me, I have to go on this new adventure, this new journey. This is me now. This is who I am. Do you know even what video I'm talking about?
I do. And I was still in it, with the other, with the podcast and some other things that I was building on. I know exactly what video on Facebook that is. Yeah. And it's funny because I got a lot of attention from that, from just kind of, moving out of one space into another. I think we're always kind of ripping ourselves open, and as we go layers deeper and deeper, and you find that certain things don't work for you anymore, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's sort of what got you here won't get you there. You're always evolving, and you're realizing what, I got to do things differently. And that video was actually before a little time before my father passed. And when my father was passing, that really changed. In fact, I saw you in person at the event right before he passed. And so I was already well onto this kind of like, all right, some things have to be done differently. I want to
Mm,
approach my life differently and have a one from more of like an internal place where I'm not judging anything from an external metric, but I'm like curating the life around me from an internal place, right? And
love
those are
that.
two very different worlds, and very different processes.
I think what I like about the way you articulated that, and in case I forget, remind me to give you the compliment I wanted to give you. So we'll come back to that in a minute.
And dropping it.
Your point of the longer I've been around, the more I realize there's so much work to be done. First on the inside of who you really are, and like the amount of times I've heard people say, "I think I know who I am," and I'm here to tell you, I think I know who I am is not I know who I am. It's like based on a true story is not a true story. So it's a movie's like based on a true story, right?
Right.
Asterisks, next 120 pages. And so I, when you finally put life on pause as much as you can and like rip yourself open and realize, even like you said, I honor the person I was before. I get more energy now over X, Y, or Z, and this is who I am.
Yeah.
And then how does the outside world perceive me? And does my current outside world, will they accept the new version of me or not? What rules am I playing by of the last world? And the only example I know that I can give isn't a professional one, it's a personal one. I have recently been put back on a chain with my college buddies. And it's like I am terrified of this. Like they want to get together. I love them. I really do. I don't know how many of them have. It's almost silly that I would say this. Are they still back in 2000? Or are they here to are they growing? Are they still evolving? And again, I love them. Like I'm sure we're gonna get together and I'm gonna be surprised by what I see, but I can feel my own anxiety because I'm not that person anymore.
Well, it's funny. First of all, I love when you're like, will the outside world accept this new me? But that the new me, the new any of us, is that it's not meant to be accepted by anybody. We're not here to be approved. I mean, seriously? That approval came the moment you were born. I mean, that's that. Let's just toss that aside. Like you were born, therefore, the approval. Like I did a post the other day that said, like, you don't need outside approval. You were endorsed by God the moment you came into like existence. Like, congratulations. Now, instead of trying to chase the outside world's like approval of like, do you like what I'm doing? Versus,
Yeah.
do you like what you're doing? And I
Right.
think that changes. But the second point that you brought up, I hear you. There are a couple people I grew up with that have been here throughout the journey the whole way, and I've also watched them evolve. And even though I have a different path than them, they are so supportive and so like, and and they've evolved a lot too. Then there's a lot of other folks
Yeah.
that they have no clue what I do. Like, how's that little blogging thing going? Or like, and it's okay. God bless. Like, God
Totally.
bless. And
Totally.
I laugh. I'm like, oh, it's okay. A few million people later, it's cool. It's all
Yeah.
good. Like I get it because to your point, I think sometimes some folks, maybe not these guys that you're gonna meet up with, but some folks usually wherever their path led them, hopefully they like it. Usually I have found that some do, some a lot don't, but they don't know the other options and other things. And I have a lot of empathy in general. It's like, hey, everybody,
Yeah.
like the more I work on my path, the more I realize like I can't tell, and I wouldn't tell anybody else what to do with their life because I can't. My life's
Totally.
already a lot of work, man. It's like it's a lot of work. And the more healthy work that we put into ourselves, the more I'm like, no matter what anybody else chooses to do, I'm just like, I get it. Like whatever's whatever's your path, own it
Totally. And I agree with you that it might just be it's like going back to the high school reunion.
a little bit. Yeah, I
Right. You're
know.
like, oh, okay. And it's like it's not and it's and I don't want it to even it's not about like looking down on like no, like to your
No.
point, like they're happy. If you're
Yeah.
happy and that's your like I know for me, And what a surprise when your business is called Courageous. I want to continue to live in adventure, and I want to continue to be curious and grow. And this is, as you said, it's not about anyone else. It's about me accepting me. I I actually had I had drinks 2 nights ago with a woman named Melissa Rosenthal. If you know Melissa, if you are fans of the podcast, she was on here before. She's a fellow East Coaster who saw the light of coming west. But my identity is still that, even though I live here, which is true. And I was sharing with her, with some of the keynotes, you got a bit for this and you have a bit for that. They're true bits, but like I was like, Jerry Maguire as a movie completely blew our generation. Like they screwed up my generation. And she's like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, okay, 3 great lines in the movie. They are number 1, show me the money. This is a good line. We like this line. Does anybody oppose to this line? No, you should extract what you're worth and be paid for your work. We're good. 2, you had me at hello. I mean, I can feel the goosebumps still. Transport me back to that time. Sweet line. And then Jerry's response. You complete me. And this is the word that screwed up our entire generation. You complete me. I don't believe in you complete me. I believe in me complete me. I believe in you compliment me. My wife and I met in our 30s. She had a whole life. She's been through some heavy that I couldn't even fathom going through. And to be honest, you've gone through some of that too with your dad. And I never met her dad. And so I remember meeting her, and like she had to grow up so much faster than me. And I was in awe and enamored of that. So like she knew who she was. I had just come out of like my New York City years and then fumbled through a startup. I felt like I knew who I was. And so we complement each other. So I think what you're sharing really resonates with me. I want to make sure I still give you the compliment that you deserve. I'm sure I was really close to being ready to pivot, and when you don't take action on something for so long that you get angry and frustrated.
Yes, I do.
Right. So I was like, if I keep down this path, welcome. Like I could see the road to frustration in front of me. And when the universe decided to throw that Facebook video at me, I felt less alone. And I could feel what I felt was like, it wasn't your head, it was below, it was like your heart. And I'm like, okay, awesome. Somebody else is navigating this messy catapult. I don't know how else to say it. So thank you, because you being vulnerable and sharing, getting it out made it easier for me. Now looking back 5 years out, okay. But like at the time I needed that. So I can't thank you enough.
We're all going through it as path carvers, like when you're carving your own path and you're creating your own route, and just in general, I think even if you're not, like we're all going through, whether you say it out loud or not, right?
Yeah.
And but the path creators and the creatives and the entrepreneurs, whew, it's you're trying to figure out a gigantic puzzle that is both the thing that you want to bring to the world, which in essence is you, and at the same time you. And like I once heard a great, like, was like, the fastest way to personal development and God is through entrepreneurship. Like, and entrepreneurs and creators that are listening like know this, and artists, like, because you're trusting within this, your internal being. You're like, I know what I know, and I know what I don't know, but I know what I know has to be able to keep going to find out what I don't know yet. That's for this thing that I know. Like, I need to do this. And it was interesting going to connect it to back to even like when you're talking about like whether it's high school friends or people from like way, way long ago. And just saying, even the general public, sometimes like when I'm at events like yours, when I was at your event and other places, and I'm around creatives and even these kind of conversations, we can talk about these things and I could say what I do and be like, oh, I love it. Oh, I've seen your work at this. The rest of the world, like, I struggle. I mean, I still do it. I still do it because you have to own your path, but they'll be like, what do you do? And I try to kind of explain that, like, and then it's sort of either looked at like, oh, you haven't figured yourself out yet, or will you ever make it? Or doesn't sound very responsible to me. And then like, but when I hear them talk about, not, again, some, not all, but a lot, their jobs are like, they don't like how things turned out. They're unhealthy. They don't, again, not all, I'm just saying like some of the encounters I've had, their job, like they took the what was called a safe path. I actually think that that's the opposite, because it's unsafe for your health, your mental well-being, your soul, your spirit, and pretty much what you're here to do. But hey, until that becomes a normal
I love that.
conversation in the general public, which I think is going to be happening over the coming years, because you're seeing more and more people going for it. And so it's interesting because, yeah, but like I'm following my soul, and like, oh, you heard one of those, like, if you follow your passion, you're like, I'm like, first of
Right.
all,
Oh,
my
can I ask you
passion.
this? Can I
Yeah,
ask you this?
go ahead.
Have you seen the Scott Galloway thing on this?
I have. Well, I mean, I've seen some of his stuff, but I haven't seen on passion.
So
Yeah.
who am I? Look, this is like, let's just get the hornet's nest out there. But he has this thing on, and Scott Galloway is, again, I think he's definitely going for it. He's teaching the stuff. He's worth following. But he has a bit on like those entrepreneurs who say follow their passion. That's after they've made their money, and it's like a complete violation of my being. And there's a lot I agree with him on, and this is one I'm like, oh man, okay, well that's one possible path. That's not my path.
I didn't hear that, and I didn't hear him say that. And here's my take on the whole passion thing. And this brings us almost present. I have this brand that is, the podcast, now apparel, and there's actually a lot of other things that I'm planning on doing with it, including in publishing. But the niche is you. Okay, why is this so important? Because I'm not saying, first of all, following your passion. Congratulations, you're about to learn accounting, operations, marketing, PR. Like you're doing more work than if you were working for somebody. So I think that what probably happened in previous generations that are also living presently, but like are saying like, oh, well, if you follow your passion, like accountability, responsibility, consistency, discipline, dedication, routine, scheduling, time constraints. Like now you're actually, so yeah, you're following your passion, but you're doing it with, an all-on accountability, responsibility. The way I look at it is that we all have a lot of different gifts and unique to us. And I think it's our job to understand how to cultivate the mastery out of that and find unique ways that we can deliver that to things that make sense for us. So now we're pairing up skill set, including, skill acquisition, the things that we're kind of learning more of along the way, the mastery, to areas of interest that allow us to deliver that, like we're just the medium at that point, like it's working through us. So I think that when we hear like the folks are like, oh yeah, follow your passion, or oh, like, that'll lead you. It gets so diluted and so, not looked at on the deeper layers. And I think that's where the conversation begins.
You remind me of a word I like to make up from time to time and throw out there, which is figure it out ability. It's like,
Yeah, figure out ability.
And by the way, I so love this concept of the niche is you. And I also think, gosh, you're like taking me back poorly to my college days, but it's kind of like, so I pledged a fraternity. I was one of those guys. And if they would have told me what they were going to do on week 13, I would never have done it. Like week 1, I'm down, right? Meet some new people, talk to some new people. And again, my fraternity, it was fine. There was not but like,
Right.
I think what you're talking about is that too. When you say follow your passion on week 1, it may not be till week 4 that you discover, oh shoot, I have to do accounting. Is like, how do you start an LLC? How do you do that?
Right.
What is that? I don't know how to do that. And if you stay curious and you keep pushing forward and you figure this stuff out, the niche is you. Give me the log line for the niche is you.
I'm just reminding you. That's what I say. I said the niche is you. I'm just reminding you. No. Well, real quick, back to the passion. I turned it into like follow your calling. And what's interesting about a calling is you're less likely to quit from it because something is happening at a soul level versus a interest. And I think interest and calling can happen together. They naturally do. But if it's just an interest, it's like, oh, somebody wants to be a fashion designer. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Are you looking at somebody else and you like the result that they have, but they are in their thing. That's who they are, you know? And so are you wanting to emulate their end result? And that's what you're resonating with, because what about all of the in between that's going to happen? If it's your calling, if you're tied to it, like, and you know what and why you're doing and all these other things, then you're like, oh yeah, no, I got this. Like, and even in your darkest moments, you're like, oh, I'm not ever stopping. Like, you're just not going to stop me. And believe me, you feel like stopping often. It happens, you know? So the niche is you. It was interesting. I saw um somebody, and somebody was writing online a few years back, and they were talking about this idea of like, everybody's always asking about the niche, and you know how, like, you know, really it's you. And I was like, I love that. And I turned it into an article, an actual article title, and I put it on my Substack. And that became like one of the most popular, or the most popular of my articles at the time. And I thought, there's something here. Everybody always asks, like, you know, what's my niche? What's my niche? And I'm like, well, it's you. And I'm not saying, this gets very tricky with a lot of people. You can be specialized in the things that you like to do, but the wholeness of you is what represents what you're here to do and how you do it and how people relate to you. And if all you do is talk about what you do, people in the world can't relate to you, and they don't know how you move. They don't know, you may be the best at what you do, but can they trust you? Do they want to do business with you? Do they understand who you are? Can they relate to you? And so people kept coming to me, and as I used to work on a lot of brands, personal and big brands and all that stuff, and I used to just say that, you know, listen, like, talk about all the different things. And I spoke at this mastermind the beginning of January 2023. It was about 70 entrepreneurs, and it's one of my favorite examples, and it always works every time. I've only said this once out loud on the in a crowd, right? But it was like, the first opening line was like, how many of you here, with a show of hands, have ever sold a product or service from doing anything other than talking about the product or service? And like, everybody raised their hand. I'm like, bingo, the niche is you. There you go. Like, there's nothing else to say. Like, the reason being is you're showing, and you know, one woman was a realtor, a broker, and I said, yeah, when you're talking about your children, and you're talking about your husband, and you're talking about education, what you're doing in the educational, you know, sector, and when you're doing this and doing that, what happens is, oh, other people are like, oh, I'm a mother too. Let me, you know what? Thank you. By the way, I see you do real estate. I see you've been doing it for 15 years. You know, look, we're looking for a home. Thank you though for talking about these issues. It's so nice to hear, you know. So
Totally.
yeah, so we're all
It's
trying to
belief
niche ourselves.
system. It's
Yeah.
belief system to belief system, which is
Yeah.
pretty cool, because when you say the niche is you, the first place people go is probably, well, the first place they go is like, huh? And then it's like, oh, I think he wants me to be
Me.
more unique.
Yeah. So
And in some ways, the long winding way is like, we're more alike than not, guys. Like, we're all more alike than not. Like,
yeah.
we're all trying to, like, to your point, that story of, you didn't talk about a feature, right? You talked about the creature. Like, what's the living, breathing creature that connects you and me? And to me, that's, you weren't selling me, by the way, but I was sold on you the minute I
Yeah.
saw that Facebook video, because I'm like, he's more like me he helped me be
There it
more
is.
me than I even knew.
Right. And we're uniquely different. One with different passions, different interests, different pasts, different everything. But now we're relating to each other. And I think that's where the authenticity comes through. It's like, people just want to know who's in front of them. And you're seeing an uprising, what's happening even on social media right now, where people are like, a little bit of long form content meets like a little bit of like, hey, here's how I'm doing it. And I'm happy to share the journey with you. It was built in public, but now it's really become kind of more like the personal, like, development in public. It's like, here's how I'm doing it. Here's why I'm doing it. And you get invested in the people who are doing that, because you're like, cool, they're no different than me. I'm no different than them in terms of wants and needs, but like, I don't want what they want in terms of like what their, you know, their job or the thing that they're building, but it inspires them to be like, cool, we're no different. You are unique in our paths, but we're similar, and like, we go through the same things. And it's like, it gives people this idea of permission for themselves, right? Like, the niche is you, and it's like, I guess what I also saw too was I saw a world in which there's the gatekeepers. There's like, you have to get approval, the titleism, the credentialism. I'll give you a real quick story, and this is like perfect for this. I'll try to be quick about it. But
Oh, good.
Melody
Thank you.
Melody Asani, have you heard of her?
Mm-mm.
She's, I just recently heard of her, but I guess she's been around a minute. She's our age. She's in her 40s, and she was originally from the Middle East, became American back, when her family first immigrated here. And father passed away at a very young age, at 10. She had a little bit of depression, but like, she was a miss in a lot of the schools that we were in, where, you're just learning about like, music and culture and hip hop and like all these different things. And eventually she's going to college, and, she was raised from a very cultural family to like, just try your best. And she was thinking about going to law school afterwards. Applied to all the law schools, gets the bill ahead of time of like what it's going to cost. And she got accepted. And she was like, I can't, like, am I going to pay off the rest of my life for this if it's not truly resonating with my soul? Even though she loved justice and the idea of like, the law and all these things. She decides she's not going to go. And she hits a little bit of, I think the way she described, she said it was a little bit of depression for about a year, because it's like, this is your life. This is your life. Like, and what was happening in the outside world? Be a lawyer. This is a great path. This is a great job. This is what you should do. This is your security. Is it? Oh, because that can go away at any given point in time. Is that your security? Like, we call security from an external world when it's all internal. It's all internal. Anything can be taken away from you at any given point in time, and you're going to have to figure out how to do it, and your character better pull you through. So she meets a woman that, and like just figured her out, was very spiritual. It was like a spiritual kind of, session, if you will, and said, "Oh, you're a designer." And she's like, "What?" She's like, and she is. She's like, "Okay, I'm a designer." And she's like, "That's true. Like, nobody's ever like really known that about me. Like, I love it. That's what I do. It's like I feel it in my bones. I feel it. If I don't move on it, I feel like, like I hurt, just like you were kind of saying earlier." And so she's like, "You need to go in that direction." She's now back in California. She thinks she's going to go to design school, right, for like fashion. She's looking at the curriculum, and she's like, I just kind of know this stuff. I don't really want to be taught this. Now, in a world where, oh, well, where did you go to school, and what are your titles, and what classes did you take, and all this other stuff? And I do think school makes sense for specialties, but what about the folks that just have it, that are operating naturally from their gifts and intuition? We haven't cultivated that since everyone was children. That's not how the school system taught people. And so this is going to lead into something eventually I want to help out with education. But so she's like, I know this stuff. I don't want to go to school. She's like, you know what? I'm going to go to China. I'm going to learn tooling. I'm going to learn how to make the thing that's my vision.
Cool.
Oh, wow. So now I'm investing in the tooling, the equipment to make the vision, not somebody to tell me like theory or like, you know what I mean? She wants to dive into the work. Does it, comes home after 3 months and has a shoe, her first shoe, selling it on MySpace. This is how, she's selling it on MySpace. Public is going crazy, loves it, selling it out, goes to a retailer. Where'd you train? Where'd you this? Where'd you that? Like, oh, all the retailers, all the buyers, like, oh, I don't know. That's not really what the market wants right now. Really? That's not what the market wants right now. Gatekeeper. That's interesting, as usual. And I don't mean it, I say it with passion because I get it. People used to, that was their role from a physical, worldly place. And I get it. So even the gatekeepers, it's just that you're having an individual state what the rest of the world wants. Really? Like, and meanwhile, she's online and everybody's like running it up saying like, I want your shoe. I want your shoe. I want your shoe. She ends up, selling online, and then she ends up meeting, she has a friend that she ends up doing like a fashion ring for after like a funny encounter. Who's that friend related to? Erykah Badu. Erykah Badu calls her, hey, I hear you did so-and-so's ring. She's like, I'm not really a jewelry designer. I just did a costume for him. And she's like, you're a designer. And her friend said the same thing. Hey, design me this ring. And she's like, I'm not a designer. He's like, you did a shoe, right? She's like, yeah. She's like, but I'm not a jewelry designer. He's like, you're a designer. Okay, I designed the ring. Next, Erykah Badu calls. You're a designer, aren't you? Yeah. Okay, next. Eventually it turned into Adidas. Then it turned into Michael Jordan and Nike for doing a shoe collab. And each step, not knowing, not having the training except for real life training, right? Not having the schooling, not having the titles, not having anything. When you're in your purpose, you're in the niche of you, and you're trusting that path, oh yeah, all the things that are going to find you, you become magnetic. It's automatic, because you're like, you're doing the expression of you utilizing your gifts and bringing your stuff to the world. It lets the world know this is who I am and what I'm about. Yet now the people can find you. And I think that's how we should be judging off of the work, versus like, oh, well, where'd you go to school? Like, we see how that's turning out now.
Totally. You also left at the part where her and Flea now have a child.
Oh yeah.
together.
Sorry. So for everybody else listening,
me and Flea have their first baby, right? I mean,
right. So there you go. So and honestly, what also happened, yeah. So the result was, after all the success, she ended up, and by the way, she's huge online. It's not like, you can look at her stuff. She's very like to her own type of, vibe, and it has like a merch and tour, and all the music cultures and stuff like that. She ends up going to design all these different like different bands and different people's merch. Meets Red Hot Chili Peppers, meets Flea, that's now her husband, and they just had their first child. And I think like their tour merch, which she designed, was like the first like that massive selling out, like in the amount of time. I don't know the statistic. It was like either the most selling or the most sold, like in the amount of time it was ever. And I'm like, and this is her life. Like, she had no, she could have gone to law school, the safe route, or she trusted her intuition. She followed the calling and was willing to like, see where that went. And there you go. And I think that, I know you get a lot of people say like, well, that was just one person. I'm like, that's everybody. It's everybody. Everybody has a unique path. So,
well, I think we're right back to the follow your passion, right? But put in the work, right? It's really both. Like the cocktail is that, and follow yourself, right? Follow yourself. And you're so right on safe is unsafe. I've seen it over and over again. I think maybe the real question, if I'm listening right now, because I think as we're going through this journey, and I'm sure there's, first of all, if you're listening to the Courageous podcast and you've made it this long into the episode, obviously you're curious, and you can't help but let your brain do what your brain is supposed to do. And maybe you're at a point where you do know what you want to do, and you've got you're working on it, or maybe you don't know yet, and you're like, well, is this me? Is this me? Is this me? Is this for me? I think that's okay too. I think you have to, where I would start is ask yourself, and don't lie to yourself, are you tired? Are you tired? I think when you get tired, and it's not that we don't get tired, I get tired all the time.
Yeah.
Like pursuing my own stuff, that still lights me up. But if you're tired to the point where you're complacent, or you're tired where you've sort of surrendered, or you've tired, like, I got people in my family too that were hoodwinked into being lawyers. And I love them, and they do it. And I'm like, so basically you sleep for a third, and then you sleep again for another third, to maybe get a few hours at the end of this thing of you time, but you're not happy doing the thing you want to be doing. So I love that you said, like, dive into the work. Also, I'm curious, you have this process, not hustle. Like, I want to get into that too. Is that still part of who you are and what you're doing now? Maybe we jump into that.
Well, I mean, that podcast still exists. It's a little bit on hiatus, but it still cranks out the numbers. And in fact, this new podcast, I'm now actually competing with it. It actually is doing about the same numbers a month, and I did that in about a year. I did growth market the heck out of it. So like I did apply, all the years of experience to my own brand this time around. And
but is that what you call systems over hustle? Like, is that when you say growth market, just for my audience, is it like,
okay, so the progression worked like this. How did I get to here? And this is the simple version of it. So I'm doing all sorts of things in my media and consulting and whatnot. I decide it's 2019. I'm turning 40 soon, and I want to change the way I'm doing things. I don't like working as hard as I was working. I wanted to work smarter going into my 40s. I was missing something. Why is it like, if you want to change your outcomes, you want to change the results. If you want to, you have to really look at the processes and the systems, which I refuse to do. I think in much of my 30s, just, creatives have this idea of like, oh, systems will constrict me. And so everything I write now is actually a contrarian statement. Actually, systems and schedules, I now have more creative output in less time than I have ever done before. And people are like, how do you do it? You must work all the time. I'm like, I've worked the least amount that I have ever worked. Now, I still work a lot on the vision because I love my work. That's work and plays come together. So the first step I did is I contacted somebody that I knew and said, hey, I need you to, teach me some systems and like organize my world a little bit more. She was like an online business manager, an OBM and a systems person. And so she was working on my stuff. And then she's like, what do you do with all your clients? I'm like, I don't know. Like, maybe I just, let them go. And she's like, do an agency. I'm like, I'm not doing an agency because I used to audit agencies on the brand side. And I just, I don't know. And she's like, do an agency. So finally I was like, you know what? Fine. We'll do it my way. And she's like, yeah, that's how I want you to do it. And the idea was, systems over hustle. And we did that from 2020 until about 2023. And, I still have it, but I just let all, once the clients were done, that was it. And the focus there was bringing efficiency into like the one area that pretty much any brand struggled with was like the operational efficiency of their marketing and their sales and like, actually making it where it's scalable, but like whether it's the lead, nurturing the lead, onboarding the lead, what happens after they have, onboarded all of these things. And throughout that process, I was really getting into the mastery of doing it also for myself. And I got to a place, I got, again, burnt out once again, with the agency per se, just with the amount of clients that we were handling. And more so, it's hard when you build other people's things and maybe they're not using them or they're not doing the things that, like I can't only do so much before I have to, like, you have to give me equity because now I'm running your company, and it's like, well, now what do we do? I'm like, well, go market yourself,
right.
And so it got to a place where I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it myself. And that's actually what you're witnessing right now. And I was like, I'm going to build my ecosystem. And I thought to myself, okay, what do I really, 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 really want? And this is where it gets really, really good because this is where everything started to change. First, I did this and I created this into like this free clarity workshop. 3,000 people have already gone through it like online. Like I pummel everybody into there. I'm like, please go there. It's called Reverse Engineer Your Life. The first thing is an ex and a good friend of mine gave me these questions, the average perfect day. I don't know if it came from Brendon Bouchard or who it came from, but they were 23 very specific questions. How does a good day look for you? And I think you got to always start there because most people are like, a lot of times, and it's from start to finish, from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, there's 23 specific questions and they want you have to go into your intuition. You have to feel into it. And it's really great because it's like from about your home to who you're spending your day with to how you're doing your business, everything. The second thing is what I call a time audit because I had ex-mentors that.
By the way, can you send that to me?
I will.
I want to take that test.
I will. It's the way I've done this thing. I've made it completely free and I want the world to use it. And it's like, because it's a 4-part thing. The first is the average perfect day. The second is a time audit. This one gets everybody for 7 days. For 7 days, while you're awake, every 2 hours, I just want you to document what did you do the last 2 hours? Not a novel, just like I answered the phone call from my mom. I ran an errand. I ended up cooking instead of doing the work I was supposed to, whatever it might be, whatever, right? For every 2 hours while you're awake for 7 days. It is so gut wrenching. That's why most people hate that one.
Sure.
Because what they realize is like, oh shit, I think I'm wasting a lot of time. I'm like, and don't worry, we all are in some capacity because it's about how are we being intentional with our time, right? And you can't correct how you're using your time until you know how you're using your time. So that's the second one. The third one is Gary Keller's 135, Keller Williams Real Estate, the one thing, the book. He has this whole idea of the one-page business plan. It's the 135. One goal, 3 priorities, 5 actions to take in each of those priorities. That's it. And that's a game changer. You can do it for your money. You can do it for your body and your health. You can do it for your podcast downloads. You can do it for whatever, anything in any area of your life. Why is it so crucial is because it makes something specific. Like, okay, like I'm trying to get to 15% body fat right now. I've been working with my trainer for 3 years. All right, get in 2024, get to 15% body fat by the end of the year. Okay, cool. 3 priorities: exercise, active recovery, nutrition. Great. Those are my priorities. What am I doing in each of those areas? The tasks. I then write them out. I know what they are. Now we can go on to the fourth template, which is your calendar. And so what I did is, and I taught in there in this little micro workshop, how I block off my calendar. Now, it's not about living by your calendar the rest of your life. It's about retraining your mind
Right.
to like how you actually run your day and when you're doing things, right? And in fact, it also helped a lot of people say no a lot more because you're like, oh, I can't. I know what I'm doing at that time, and it's not to go out to happy hour with you. I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just that like
No.
you're intentionally filling your days. So what happens if I know what I want to have like as my average perfect day? If I know what I'm doing with my time, if I know what activities I should be doing with my time, and now I'm scheduling those activities and a life, now I'm actually living my future self present, more or less. Maybe you're missing some of the locations and the whatnot. And so what happened is I got to this place from the book Essentialism by Greg McKeown.
Such a good book.
90% of things are unimportant. You've got to find the 10% that are. You've got to build your business around your life. You got to build everything around your life. Otherwise, you will build your life around everything else, including business and work and everything. And it doesn't work that way. And so I do more in 3 2-hour sprints every day than most people will do in like 3 weeks, because I know exactly what I'm doing during that time. It's dedicated, focused, deep work. And I know what I'm working on and why. And so I think clarity is the ultimate superpower. It allows us, it's like, I got into systems and processes and all these things that I thought were like the biggest constraints. And I just wanted to develop a different relationship with time, and it changed everything. And it's funny because creatives sometimes tell me, they're like, oh, I have to wait until like the inspiration comes. I'm like, my inspiration comes every morning at 5:30 a.m. and I love it, and they're like, how? And this will go, I'm going to pair this back to something that you had said earlier. When people struggle, when people want answers, when people need to know something, to do something, anything, I tell them, like, just go do anything. Just start. Go in the garage and work on the car. Do whatever. The answers come. This is the beauty of creating. We are made in the image of the creator. We are co-creating with God. You want an answer? Just create something. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's what I need to do. Oh, that's the answer I was looking for. How's it all going to work out? That was the next step I was looking for. What do you know? It came because I was actually in motion and creating and doing something. If we sit on the sidelines too long or in stagnation, our mind is going to mess with us. So
I love this so much. Yeah, please do. What did you call the whole program?
Reverse engineer your life.
Engineer your life. What could be more process than having engineer in the title of that thing? I like this because I've been studying how a lot, not what or why. And I'm working. This says, hey, audience, now's a good time to know. I know what my next big book is about, and it's really looking at those hows, how to do things.
Yeah.
And what I'm seeing inside big corporations is they've got their why, or they think they've got their why, and they're like, oh, we know our why. I'm like, if you know your why, but then you don't operationalize your why,
Yeah.
Why? You're full of, stop checking boxes.
Yeah.
And start doing it. So what I love about this I'm going to put this in the book, by the way. We'll figure that out.
Amazing.
And I obviously be like, it's from you, not from me. But this is a great how that can help you get where you need to go. And when you think about courage, I always describe courage. Courage is not a cherry on top, contrary to what media and movies say. Thing that happens at the end, you need it in the middle, in this how. And it starts by dreaming, which is basically your average perfect day. It's the 23 questions. It starts by getting over the nightmare of acknowledging the time audit, which is what it is. It starts by the plan. Right now, at least if you can't spot the sucker, you are the sucker. It's you. Like, do the 1 3 5.
Yeah.
Right? It starts by taking your life back. I'm about to out myself. If you're listening to this show, do not tell my wife this, okay? I'm telling you. The person who controls the calendar wins. The person who controls the schedule wins.
It's true.
And because that's your accountability partner.
Yes.
That is your accountability partner. And the other thing that I wanted to look at that I'm curious of, and I am like broken record on this, so if this isn't part of your program, maybe this is a fifth. I don't want to overwhelm anybody. not that you asked what I thought, but like, I
No, please,
think,
please.
okay, the other thing I do is I'm a crazy person on changing the labels of my alarms.
Yes.
I see what I need to see. It's a calendar done differently, but like when my alarm goes off in the morning, I see my core values. It's not that I don't live them. I just honor my humanity,
Yeah.
and it's messy. So I think this last piece is the affirmations piece.
Mhm.
Affirmations that now that I said that this, I've gone through the gauntlet. I've looked at my time. I've said, okay, here's my action plan. I've
Mhm.
rescheduled the calendar. So I'll see it, but now what else do I need? What affirmations do I need to train me, the humanity of me, to go out and do it? It's so good.
And it's interesting. Calendar, like anything too, in itself is a weird affirmation too, a cool affirmation because it's forcing you to like, how do I want my day? And then you're
Right,
like,
right.
and I, by the way, I pencil in meditation and prayer. I pencil in budgeting. I pencil in active recovery and like cold plunges and on Sundays and all these different things. And it's cool. It's like you're creating your life, and but it's the affirmation is like because when it pops up, it's like but yes, as far as the values, I'm injecting the values in there as well too. And also when I schedule, what's cool is I took the 1-3-5 and put it into my calendar. So it's like, oh, I know that from 5:30 to 7:30, I come first. I'm working on
I love that.
my creative endeavors, coming off sleep biologically, spiritually. They say that that's like the greatest time for, kind of eat the frog if you will. But you can, some of your greatest output. I love doing that from 5:30 to 7:30. And, but I know the goal, like I know the why with it. So I use iCal, which is connected to my Gmail and all that other stuff and Google. And it's interesting. So like I look in there and I know my why because it's like, hey, like the whole goal of this part of the morning is towards this bigger the why. But then
Totally.
here's my one goal, here's my priorities, here's my so I'm changing them out weekly or monthly, depending on how long the project at hand is. And I love that you brought up about, just doing well to back up, you were talking about courage. I did a podcast episode number 245 on the niches you is courage also comes with a lot of doubt. Do it anyways. And
Dude, I'm gonna send
right?
you a thing on that too. I wrote it. This is like this is like Jaws showing each other's scars. But yeah, feel the pressure, do it anyway. Feel the
Yeah.
pressure, do it anyway. Right.
Yeah.
It's exactly your episode, but we got to swap. I want to hear your episode, and I'll send you what I wrote.
Yeah. Yeah. And I said if you have a creative mind, you're going to show something that hasn't been shown before because it's coming from within. Like no one else has seen it yet, right? You may doubt your interpretation of what you're creating. You may be doubted by others until it gets to a place that has visible success. And until it's really gotten to a place that the world, can understand, you may be doubted, but and you're gonna feel like giving up. But this idea of there's certain things like the uncertain is your path to faith, a trust fall with God and yourself, right? It's like you'll always be ready because how could you be for the things you've never expected? It's like courage is. I love that you have this whole, from courage and courage brands and courageous because it's like it's the act of like completely dealing with uncertainty, which is everything, and the unexpected, and doing it anyways, and it's always better than we ever anticipated, even the worst that we can anticipate, So it's an interesting relationship with yourself and with uncertainty versus staying in stagnancy, and so but courage comes with a lot of doubt, right?
The outcome is happiness. I mean, like it's that
Oh
simple.
yeah. Yeah.
I know it doesn't
Yeah.
feel that way. And, we all have our long, winding roads to what we're doing and where we are. And it doesn't make it perfect. I still have fear. I'm
Yeah.
still scared. Also, the definition of being human is just
Hmm.
being scared. But like every single time I've looked at what holds my attention, a movie, your favorite movie is basically the same story told a million ways. Tension, tension, release. Tension, tension, release.
Yeah.
Fear, courage. Do it
Yep.
anyway. And
Yeah.
in the movie, the tension gets bigger and bigger, and points forward. Just like our lives should continue to point forward. And it's not to exhaust ourselves, but I think maybe this is a great place to end too, which is when you meet other people like you, Matthew, that are staying curious and going deeper and seeing where it takes you and being at peace with that uncertainty. How could something bad come of that? Like, what's, and I love how you said it honors the relationship that you have. And I hear you even on, you were accepted a long time ago. Right. And
Yeah. Oh yeah.
put that part behind you and now go do some
Yeah.
amazing things. Matthew
You know,
Gottesman, you are the man. I'm almost embarrassed it's taken us this long to like circle back. But in other ways, I know that I always root for
No.
you. Where can people find you? Where do you want to send them?
The best is 3 places: mattgottesman.com, mattgottesman.com. And everything's there. It's a link to everything else. mattgottesman.substack.com. That's where all the writing is. And then at Matt Gottesman on Instagram. We're having a lot of fun over there. So, and then there's the links like to everything you need, to the free workshops that I was just talking about, to reverse engineer, which I sent you, everything. So
Keep doing what you're doing, man. I'll do the same. And let's make sure we're texting more.
yeah. Yes. Yes,
It's
sir.
like I root for you and the world needs what you're doing. And
Thank you.
I know I'm doing my thing. I know how you feel about us too. Great to see you, buddy.
Appreciate you. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Courageous Podcast. If you enjoy the show, don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts so more people can find us. See you again next week.